The IBRT's Threadless store is now open. T-shirts, hoodies, even phone cases and protective face masks are now available at our very own merch outlet, iceboxradio.threadless.com. Choose from the IBRT logos, Scoop Sisters, Funny in a Small Town, Frozen Frights, and more. Then choose your merch. Clothing for men, women, and kids in a variety of colors. Accessories including buttons, stickers, mugs, and tote bags. Even notebooks and skateboards are available, and every sale helps the Icebox Radio Theater continue to bring the Northland's stories to the world. That's the Icebox Radio merch store at iceboxradio.threadless.com or just visit iceboxradio.org.
In all of the history of old-time radio, few series could jump genres as adeptly as Quiet Please. Even more remarkable was the fact that every episode of this show was written by its creator, Wyllis Cooper, who was also the creator of one of the early radio's most successful shows, Lights Out. In Quiet Please, Cooper moved back and forth between horror, fantasy, crime stories, and even romance. But some of his greatest scripts could be best described as dark science fiction. Tonight, we recreate Northern Lights, originally broadcast January 30th, 1949. Two scientists working in a cold northern lab, an experiment has unexpected results. And the cause of it all? One of the nature's greatest mysteries, the Aurora Borealis, or as you might know it, the Northern Lights.
Quiet, please. Quiet, please. The Icebox Radio Theater presents Quiet Please, which is written by Wyllis Cooper. Quiet Please for tonight is called Northern Lights.
This is a story about the temporal displacement of mass. It's also a story about teleportation. Do you know what those terms mean? No, I don't think you did, but you stay right where you are, my charming friend. You're quite likely to find out. You just stay right there and listen, and I'll tell you everything you want to know. Maybe a couple of things you're not terribly anxious to know. You ever see the Northern Lights? Aurora Borealis is their right name. You don't see them very often below the 50th parallel of latitude in this country. But up in northern Minnesota, Canada, upper New York, places like that, quite common on a winter's night. If you've seen them, you know what they look like. If you haven't, well, there's no use in my trying to describe them. Sometimes they'll fill the whole northern sky with waves of color, like a fire burning beyond the horizon. Sometimes they're just long streamers of fire filling up the whole sky. Another time they look like gigantic fringed curtains of pure light, swaying as if some cold cosmic breeze plucked at them, way far off there to the north. And you can hear them too, sometimes. Well, maybe not exactly hear them, but there's a sound, a humming, a crackling somewhere inside your head. And there are times when you'd swear it's a voice talking to you, talking in some kind of strange language that you can almost understand, filling your whole being with a kind of desperate, inescapable terror. You know what I mean? At night, in the cold night, voices talking, saying things to you that you can almost understand, filling the night sky with signs and portents of inescapable terror, and nobody in the whole world knows why. Nobody in this world, at least, except me. And after I get done talking to you, you'll know too. You won't be happy about it. Let me show you something now. This is from a recording I made on, December 13th, 1948. A little more than a month and a half ago. I started the recorder while Norman and I were just about finished with our work that afternoon here in the laboratory. I just set the microphone on top of the file cabinet there, turned on the machine. Listen, I'm going to play it back for you. The quality isn't so good, but you can recognize my voice. And Norman's, I think. Here.
I got the coil rewound now, I guess.
Did you test it?
How can I test it when I just said I got it rewound?
Ah, well, hurry up. It's almost 6 o'clock.
Oh, Oh, it is dark out. I didn't realize the time.
Hurry up.
All right. Be a display tonight, do you suppose?
Yeah, how do I know? Been displayed the last 3 nights, though.
That was a dinger last night, wasn't it?
Yes, but the machine wasn't ready.
Hey, listen now. If you think you can do a better job than...
Oh, what's the matter?
I stuck my finger.
Where'd you put the copper sulfate?
It's above the sink.
Huh? No, I got it. What are you doing over there?
Testing the coil.
Well, how is it?
Looks okay. Wait a minute. Yeah, it's okay.
I'll be right with you. Hook it up?
What are you gonna send?
Well, try my cigarette lighter. Won't work anyway. Won't miss it if we don't get it back.
I don't know how this thing will work when the northern lights aren't shining.
Well, maybe they are shining. Turn off the room light. Let's see.
All right.
Pretty early, but,
What's the matter?
Hey, look.
Oh, wow, they're out early tonight. Oh, boy, that's fine. The whole sky, look, blue and yellow. Oh, say, I never saw those fringes before.
Never the same twice.
Say, did you turn on the recorder?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, it's turning over. Let's see. Now is the good time for all good men to come to the aid of their party.
I'll leave it alone. You about ready now?
It's funny about the aurora.
Northern Lights? What's so funny? Listen to this part closely, friend. Remember what I told you.
Oh, I don't know. You can almost hear the darn things. Not hear them, I mean, but it's kind of like someone talking to you in a language you can almost understand. I don't know. I mean, do you ever notice it?
Oh, sure. High frequencies, I guess, or something.
Awful lot we don't understand.
Look, you go over there to the recorder and talk into the mic.
Talk what?
Well, just describe what happens for the record.
I'm no announcer.
I know you're not, but just say what you see so we'll have an accurate record.
Okay. Now?
Go ahead.
This is an experiment in the temporal displacement of a solid object. In other words, the first actual demonstration of a time machine. If it works.
It'll work all right. Go on.
Paul is now placing his old beat-up cigarette lighter on the stage of the hypercucambulator, and he's now fitting the microchronometer to determine how far into the future he's going to send the lighter. Well, how far, Paul?
10 seconds.
10 seconds. Now, at the end of that time, if our calculations are correct, and we hope they are, the cigarette lighter will reappear. In that period of time, it will have been into the future. We could send it farther into the future if we wanted to, I guess, but we just have to wait that much longer for it to time to catch up and make it reappear. But 10 seconds, well, I mean, we can prove our point by sending it 10 seconds into the future, just as well as sending it to 10 years ahead. And this way we don't have to wait so long. Hey, Paul, how am I doing?
Hey, how about you go into your commercial?
When Paul presses the little button, the cigarette lighter will turn to nothing.
Well, that's not right. It'll be here. It'll just be 10 seconds later. Now listen closely, please. It's about to happen.
Yeah, well, now Mr. Paul McGilligan, that famous mad scientist, is about to press the big old button and send his lighter into the future. You ready, Paul?
Here we go. Stand by. Look, Norm.
By golly, it is gone. It just disappeared. Bang, like that.
Hold your watch up close to the mic so it'll record.
Right. There is no sign of the lighter. The little stage on which Paul placed it is empty, and it should appear again in just a second if it really did work. 3, 2, 1.
It's back. It's back, Norm.
It worked. Oh, we made it. Oh, man. Let's see if it's all right. Oh.
Now what?
Oh, the lighter. Oh, it's cold. Paul. Oh, here, take it. Take it. It's freezing cold.
Ah. What do you know? Darn thing's like a piece of ice.
Now, where the dickens do you suppose it's been in that 10 seconds?
All right, friend. That's not the payoff yet. Listen.
You said in the future, And
Time's caught up with it. It's back, but...
Hey, Paul. Hey, look. Where did that come from?
What?
There on the stage where the lighter was. Where'd that come from? In the middle of winter.
What is it?
It's, a caterpillar, Paul. A brown and black caterpillar.
Where do you suppose it came from? It wasn't there when we...
I'll tell you where it came from, Paul.
What?
It came from the same place where the cigarette lighter went.
What are you talking about?
Well, feel it, Paul. Feel its fur. See, it's cold as the ice, too.
A caterpillar. A little brown and black caterpillar. The kind they call woolly bears, you know. Larva of the tiger moth, the Isaiah Isabella. In the dead of winter and as cold as ice. Where did it come from, huh? You want to know? Well, incidentally, you know, the old-timers say that the woolly bear caterpillar is a weather prophet. If the brown bands on its fur are narrow, there's severe weather ahead. If they're wide, it's going to be a mild winter. Well, maybe. This one, though, you could hardly see the brown bands. Tough weather ahead, that's what the old-timers would say, but where'd she come from? She wasn't there when we put the cigarette lighter on the stage. When time caught up again, there she was. She? Oh, sure. Isabella. Isaiah Isabella. I told you, remember? Oh, she was wiggling happily when she arrived from somewhere in the future, but as she warmed up, she seemed to go into a trance. Almost a death-like trance. So Norman said, put her in the deep freeze, and maybe she'll come back too again in the cold. So we put her in the deep freeze. In half an hour, when we looked in at her, she was wiggling perfectly happily at 10 degrees below zero, friend. Now how can you tie that? My goodness, she should have been frozen solid. Well, nothing special happened for a couple of days. That, you remember, was a month and a half ago, December 13th, 1948. Where were you on the night of December 18th? Saturday night, week before Christmas? I'd been Christmas shopping in the afternoon. I remember I came back to the laboratory to check up on some stuff. Norm was there fiddling with things. Hi, Norm, I said. How's Isabella?
You know something funny, Paul?
What's the matter with you?
Who, me?
You look so pale. Sick? Eat something that disagreed with you?
Paul, Isabella's singing.
Singing what? Isabella singing? Why, you're Dottie.
She's singing. The caterpillar's singing.
Well, not tap dancing too, I hope.
I'm not kidding you.
Oh, cut it out.
Open the deep freeze and listen.
You been at the C2H5OH?
I haven't had a drink since last Thursday night.
Well, now what do you think?
Open the deep freeze and listen.
No kidding?
No kidding.
Well, we don't know where she came from. Guess I wouldn't be surprised at anything. Hello, Isabella.
Hey, don't do that.
Oh, what's the matter? You afraid she'll answer me back?
Well, I don't know what.
Hello, Isabella. I hear you're singing now.
I told you, Paul.
Oh, shh. See, I don't hear anything.
Now listen, Paul, I haven't lost my buttons. I've been hearing it all afternoon. I couldn't figure out what was doing it, and then I noticed it was louder alongside the deep freeze here. So I opened it up and I stuck my head inside. And it was coming from her.
Well, what'd it sound like, Norm?
Oh, I don't know, it was kind of like A-E-I...
A-E-I? Didn't she say A-E-I-O-U? Maybe sometimes Y?
Now don't rib me. I tell you I heard it.
I think you better take a Christmas vacation, Norm.
I'm not...
I know, kid, I know, but listen. We've been playing around with some pretty deep cosmic secrets, you and me. We've managed temporal displacement, which nobody in the world has ever done, see? Maybe we both need a rest.
You know what I think, Paul?
What?
I think we've managed teleportation, too. And we don't know it.
Teleportation? You mean like Charles Fort talks about?
I mean transporting tangible objects from one place to another without any mechanical means.
Electronically?
I don't know, Paul. All I know is that cigarette lighter was someplace where it was awful cold. And it wasn't awful cold here in this room.
Well,
And where do you think the caterpillar came from?
I don't know.
It came from wherever that cigarette lighter went, Paul.
But where?
I don't know, somewhere. And you know what? I'm going to find out where it came from.
You are? And how, may I ask you?
I'm going to modify this gadget of ours, this hypercucambulator, so that it'll carry a man. And then, my dear boss, I'm going to sit down in it and have you send me out there somewhere in time and space and come back and tell y'all about it.
That's all for tonight, bud.
What?
Come on. I'll take you out and buy you a drink.
I'm not fooling, Paul.
Okay, all right. You're not fooling, Norm. Get your hat and coat and come on. I prescribe hot buttered rum.
Now, see.
Turn off the lights.
Will you listen to me for a minute?
Turn off the lights. I want hot buttered rum.
Okay.
Gosh, look out of that window.
The Northern Lights. They're awfully bright tonight.
Yeah, they sure are.
Look how they pulse. Up and down, up and down.
Norm,
Up and... What?
look at that deep freeze over there in the dark.
What about it?
You see it?
Light. Paul, light. It's...
I see it, Norm. It's right in step with the Northern Lights.
And the same colors. Red, blue. Up, down.
Coming from the deep freeze where our little friend Isabella was singing to you. Now, what do you make of that?
Hey, Paul. Listen.
I don't...
Shh. Listen.
I never did get that hot buttered rum. We stayed there in that laboratory for a long time, listening to the voice of the thing in the box, endlessly repeating A, E, I, O, U, the vowel sounds of our speech, and watching the light that pulsed up from the deep freeze in perfect rhythm with the flickering of the Northern Lights. We watched and we thought long thoughts that I don't remember any to tell you now. I do know we, both of us, thought of ways to perfect our little mechanism, our time machine, our machine that brought back a little cold brown and black caterpillar from somewhere. And when it was morning and the lights had faded from the northern skies, we found that our machine was very different. The stage where we found the caterpillar was larger now. I had only a vague recollection of what happened in the night, so I said to Norm, "Norman," I said, "what did we do last night?"
I don't know for sure, Paul.
Did we rebuild that thing? Make it larger?
I don't know. I think I dreamed I was working on it. I think I hit my finger with a hammer.
Let me see. Huh. Well, your thumb's all bruised. It certainly looks it.
Nobody could have gotten in here. The door's locked.
The machine's completely different.
This coil I fixed. Look, it's rewound. Did I do that?
Oh, my head hurts.
Yeah, mine too.
I don't get it.
I don't either. I wish I could.
Listen, Norm.
What?
Maybe we did change it.
But well, how could we have done all that by ourselves?
Well, I've got an idea.
What?
Well, maybe Isabella helped us.
The caterpillar. Oh, I don't...
Well, let's see, shall we?
Open the deep freeze.
Well, I opened it. It was empty. There wasn't any brown or black caterpillar in that deep freeze. We took a flashlight and looked over every inch of it. We stood there and looked at each other for a whole minute in silence before Norm finally said, "Well?" I just shook my head. We went over and sat down. All of a sudden, I said, "I found her, Norman." And there she was. There was little Isabella the caterpillar, crumpled up stone dead on the floor of the laboratory. And you know, caterpillars have these little tiny paws. And one of Isabella's paws was the end of a long piece of wire that ran up to the generator coil.
How did she get out?
I said, the thing couldn't be opened from the inside, I said. It was just fastened down tight when I took the lid off now.
But she did get out.
Maybe. Maybe she did help us, Norm. Norm just sat there and stared at me. And I stood up and put on my overcoat.
Where you going? Where you going, Paul?
I said, I'm going to find out something, Norman. Where I'm going, it's cold, I said. I know that, and I'm going to find out what's been going on and where that caterpillar come from. Norm goggled at me, and I stepped on the stage of the machine that was to take me away to somewhere in time and space. I said, Norm, turn it on. Well, he reached over and touched the switch. Didn't say a word. I braced myself, nodded at him. Go ahead, I said. And he pressed the switch. And nothing happened at all. Nothing. Why?
I know, Paul, I know. It's daylight, and there aren't any northern lights.
Well, it was just as well. I had a chance to think it over a little and realized that just an overcoat wouldn't do me any good where I might be going. So when it was dark night again and the northern lights were flickering and dancing in the sky, I put on a high-altitude aviator suit that had its own source of heat supply. Norm shook his head as I got back on the stage, and I nodded for him to press the switch. Cold? You've never been cold, friend. Dark? You wouldn't know how dark it can get. There I was, standing on an immense plain that stretched so far into the distance. The plain was snow and eternal ice. A dead, cold, white world with a blackened sky above me. And the northern lights reaching from horizon to horizon. Even through the high-altitude suit, I could feel the biting cold. And I was afraid. Shivering, abjectly afraid. The streamers of the northern lights reached down toward me and wrapped about me. I heard the sound of voices screaming into my mind. I could understand them. I wished I'd never played around with cosmic forces. They yelled inside the heavy helmet, and I yelled, Norman! Norman, bring me back! There was nobody to hear me. No, I don't know where I was. Another planet, maybe. The North Pole, maybe. The lights were all around me. Maybe that's where it was, but it was the most terrible, awful, cold, lonely place you could imagine in 100 years. The lights, the flickering northern lights, crawling over me and beat at me. I could almost understand what they were saying, and then a crash. Sudden blackness. I was standing again in the library I had left only a few short seconds ago, and Norman was tearing at the fastenings of my suit, beating at me with both hands. I wondered what in the world he was doing until I got the helmet off. He was brushing caterpillars off me. Thousands of cold, freezing cold, brown and black Isabella caterpillars. I was in bed for a week or more. I don't know how long. Wherever it was I'd been, I'd nearly frozen to death in those short seconds. And at last, I was able to come back to the laboratory. I sat there that night with Norman. And outside the windows, the northern lights were brighter than they'd ever been before. Purple, green, yellow, black lights even. And there was a new rhythm tonight. A kind of code. Almost words, thoughts not quite formed, yet curiously disturbing. Norman, though, didn't seem to be as disturbed as I was. He just sat quietly and looked at me.
Where'd those caterpillars come from, Paul?
I don't know. Where I was, that's all I know.
Did they attack you, or...
I don't know. They came from the lights.
The lights?
The northern lights. Where are they, Norm?
The caterpillars.
Yes, where are they?
In the deep freeze, where Isabella was.
Poor Isabella.
What's the matter with you, Paul?
I'm listening.
Listening to what?
Don't you hear him, Norm?
I don't hear anything.
Don't you?
I don't hear anything.
Listen. Listen.
I don't hear anything.
Turn on the recording machine. I want to see if we can pick up their voices.
There isn't anything, Paul.
Turn it on. Just turn it on. I want a recording. Quick. Quick, Norman. They're talking to us. Listen, friend. I want to play you another recording. This is what came out of our tape recorder that night when I was listening to the voices and Norman couldn't hear anything. Just listen.
I still don't hear anything, Paul.
Be still. Listen.
I tell you,
Just listen.
What's that?
Look at the deep freeze.
The top's coming open. Look at the light around it, Paul.
Be quiet. Watch.
How did they... Oh, good Lord. Look, the caterpillars are coming out. Paul, look at them. There's millions of them.
Be still, Norman.
But, Paul, your voice.
Be still, I said.
What's the matter with your voice?
We want to talk to you.
You what? You said we.
Why, of course, Norman. We.
Who? For the...
It is Paul's voice, Norman. Paul's voice. Voice. But it is not Paul speaking. Listen. A-E-I-O-U. We speak to you.
Paul.
Not Paul. We, the people of the lights. We from the cold. We are speaking to you with Paul's voice.
I tell you that...
Paul's voice will tell you what to do when the time comes, Norman. We go to the machine now. Paul's mind is ours for a little time now. We go to the machine that brought us to your world, from the world of the lights.
Who are you? Who are
The people of the lights. To take over this world of yours. Only this world of yours is so hot. We must have the cold world. And we know how to make it cold.
No. No.
Quick, Norman. Turn on the machine. Send us to places in your world. No, our world. Hurry. So hot. Hurry. So hot.
Paul.
Hurry. Hurry. Turn on the machine. Well, that's the end of the recording. No, I don't know. I don't have any recollection of it at all. Well, the recording's there, isn't it? That must be what happened. When I woke up, Norman was gone, and there were no caterpillars in the place here. And our machine that took people and things away into time and space, was completely wrecked. I don't know what became of them. You heard what they said about my voice. They're going to take over this world and make it a cold world, like the one where they came from, wherever that is, and whenever they went. No, I don't know where they went, where the machine sent them. I do have ideas, yes. Be cold. It's freezing in here. And look, just for example, did you read the papers? Look at the newsreels? Did you see the pictures of the snow in Los Angeles? Beautiful subtropic Los Angeles where it hasn't snowed for so many, many years. I wondered about it too. I wonder if anybody saw any little brown and black woolly bear caterpillars in Los Angeles. Larvae of the tiger moth, Isaiah Isabella. Snow in Los Angeles County. Snowfall records at Los Angeles Civic Center in a 24-hour period in 1 month, a bit more than 0.3 inches. January 10th through 11th, 1949. Just a bit more than 0.3 inches. January 1949.